fitting that this week's chapter was about manifesting desires, because y'all already know what I've been desiring from the moment that chapter 1049 ended. From the moment that I got off that stream in chapter 1049. And that was the last time we got to see Gear 5th, which within the manga, the only thing that I wanted more than anything else was to see G5 and all of its goatness, its peakness, and its rawness on full display. And I honestly thought we were going to have to wait a little while within the final saga to see it. But Oda was like, nah, man, I can. Oda was like, you ain't gotta wait. We are in the middle of the final saga. There is no more waiting. We're getting greatness. And what we got this week, even on top of seeing Gear 5th again, was a spectacular, magnificent chapter. From top to bottom, start to finish, every page, every line of dialogue, thematically in presentation, this was a King Recon chapter. And so, if you are only here for my thoughts on the chapter, Infinity out of 10. Infinity out of 10, bro. I saw Gear 5th in this week's chapter, and I saw Robert D. Lucci, in his full brand new awakening, looking fresh with black smoke all over the place, throwing hands with the coat once more. The parallels between chapter 409 and that entire original Rob Lucci versus Monkey D battle, one of the most epic anime and manga fights of all time. Listen, you want to talk about real shonen? Ladies and gentlemen, it don't get more real than this. It don't get more real than this. And we are blessed to see this in real time with Gear 5 and Awaken Lucci. I mean, come on, dude. The Seraphim units coming in. Lucci taking out Sentomaru. Once again, another chapter that showcases why Gear 5th is so incredible thematically. You know what? Let's get into the introduction. Don't read some comments, because now I'll be here all day talking about the goatness. You know what I mean? It's Gear 5, bro. You know what? Come on, man. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is the chapter 1069 Afterthoughts. It's obviously an exciting one. Like I said, I've been waiting for this for so long. And I did not think I was going to end the year on the G5 greatness again, man. And so it's great. I apologize for not being here on Saturday or Sunday. Very busy weekend, and in particular for me, just writing wise. Even today, I was like, yo, I'm not even sure if I'm able to do this. But no, I finished my stuff early, and I was like, I'm going to talk about this chapter no matter what happens. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. But before we talk about chapter 1069 by reading the comments that were submitted, I'm going to try to get to as many as I possibly can within the time frame that I have allotted. But before we get into any of that, we have a few bits and pieces of information and news to get into. So the first one being, listen, coming off of the most recent anime episode, we are all really excited for the future of the One Piece anime. That Robin... Shambles. That Robin greatness, ladies and gentlemen. Shambles. Nico Robin greatness on full display in one of the best episodes in not only Onigashima, but in the entirety of Wano. I mean, bro, we all expected a masterful adaptation of chapter 1021, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. Man. That was a full-blown exploration of what makes Robin such a special character. And you know, every single One Piece episode that starts off with no a recap, it's gonna be peak fiction. I don't make the rules. Every One Piece episode with no recap is automatically going to be bare minimum a 9. Bare minimum. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, King Recon here from the future. I was watching the Argentina game. Messi hit a golazo. And I immediately logged on Twitter. and I saw that Toei Animation put out that the Land of Wano arc, the Wano Country arc, is going to be coming to us way sooner than we originally anticipated in the English dub. And I was like, yo, I gotta talk about this. Even if it's for a few minutes, I've gotta talk about this. So I'm gonna read 2 posts because I'm in shock. I'm in genuine shock. I haven't even finished the rewatch of Whole Cake Island in English. That's how fast they've been putting these episodes out. But here we have Toei Animation stating, "Welcome to the land of Wano. The Straw Hat Pirates are landing in Wano in the very next batch of English dub episodes in One Piece. Season 14, Voyage 1, episodes 892 to 903, coming to digital this December 20th. I cannot wait for that, yo, but that's not all. That is not all, ladies and gentlemen, because following that up, we have the One Piece anime Twitter account stating, in all caps, it's almost here. The Straw Hat Pirates head to Wano when the English dub of One Piece Season 14 Voyage 1 drops on Microsoft next week. And not only that, because ladies and gentlemen, y'all think I'll be playing. When I put on the Santa hat, I am playing no games. No games are being played, ladies and gentlemen. This is Christmas season. This is Santa hat season. Because not only that, One Piece Season 14 Voyage 2 is out on December 27th. So, what does this mean? We are going to get the entirety of Act 1 of Wano in one single week. The individuals working on the English dub of One Piece have been going in so hard this year that not only did we finish all of Whole Cake Island, not only did we get film Red in English dub as well, which I still have yet to watch that until they bring it over to Blu-ray, but now we're gonna have the My Goat arc, Wano, finally coming to the dub, and it's so surreal to me. I'll never forget how I felt when I saw Water 7 getting an English dub. I was losing my mind. I'll never forget when I saw Sabaody impel down Marineford. I just couldn't believe it. But when we reached Return to Sabaody, I was like, man, one day we're gonna get Dressrosa and WCI, and then when Wano came, I was like, yo, Wano. And the fact that now we have gotten to the point where we have reached the land of Wano in the anime, where soon, by the end of the year, I will be able to see Luffy vs. Kaido Part 1 in the English dub. That is insane! That is insane! And so, with that being said, I mean, is it out of the realm of possibility that next year they could be well into Act 2, maybe even Act 3? Maybe even Act 3. And at this point, it's confirmed it's going to be Act 3 next year. So, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. The English dub obviously has a special place in my heart in regards to I've been following the releases of the DVDs for so many years, and obviously a lot of individuals have gotten into the series through the dub. So anytime that it comes out and it's shown on Toonami or whatever the case may be, I always like to support it, and to know that Wano's coming now, and eventually, like Wheezy Bird said earlier, that just means that Wano Blu-rays are going to be happening too. I'm just so excited, bro. I can't wait. So, Wano greatness is inbound. The English dub, the entirety of Act 1 is basically going to be a Christmas present here for all One Piece fans, man. So, for the individuals who are going to be watching the English dub, I'm so excited for y'all. And of course, I don't expect any one of those people to be watching this video for people who are watching it for the first time, because, this has heavy spoilers for Egghead Island. But, regardless, we are here, and I'm very, very excited. So I just wanted to come in from the future and talk about that, because that is awesome, awesome news. What we're going to be talking about the anime for is positive news in regards to the anime going on break. Obviously, we all want to see some stuff go down. The next episode is going to be the final episode for the year with the December 18th installment, episode 1045. That is going to be the last episode of the year. And I'm assuming that it's going to be the adaptation of chapter 1022, if not most of it, considering how the anime has been paced lately. But they're gonna try to end the year off on a bang, I'm going to assume. So this episode that is incoming is going to be a banger. I just wonder how much of 1022 they're gonna cover, and are they gonna reach in the 1023 pool, because they've been telling certain things out of order, especially with how they're currently handling the Momonosuke, Luffy, and Shinobu stuff. So I'm very excited to see what ends up ending the year for the One Piece anime. So, but it is going on break. The Christmas Eve, I believe the chapter was supposed, or the episode was supposed to come out. That will not be dropping, at least for us. For them, it's Christmas. So there'll be a recap episode on Christmas, and then on New Year's Day, there will also be a break, just a full-on break, which means episode 1046 will be coming on January 8th. And this was brought to us by Library of Ohara. Shout out to my boy Artur, who let us know that the anime is going on break, if you don't watch recap episodes, for 2 weeks, right? And this is going to give the staff the opportunity to, of course, spend time with their loved ones and continue to work to bring us the awesome sauce, right? That's the good thing about these recap episodes and the breaks, is that it allows everyone the opportunity to just reset, refresh, get the creative juices moving, and so they can go back up in like swimwear. But they've been giving us so much greatness this year. I hope all of them just have a great break. I mean, seriously, man. It has been a marvelous year for the One Piece anime. From the moment we started off this year with the, 1004, 1005, up until where we are today with episode 1044. It was just a magnificent year, man. So many great episodes. And because of that, the episode of the year stuff will be incoming soon. Now that I know the anime is going on break, I'm probably going to do the episode of the year stuff first, before the chapter of the year stuff. So if you're new to the channel, I like to do like favorite episodes, favorite chapters of the year, polls, and streams. Maybe not every year, but at least years that are very strong. And so because this was an extremely strong year, I'm going to do the same thing I did last year for the anime and do an episode of the year poll and then a stream, more than likely having my own favorite episodes video in the middle of that, right? If not, I'll just combine it with the stream and we'll see what happens there. But keep an eye out for that. I think it's going to end up being, let's see, if the break starts on the 18th, I could very well 19th, right, or something like that, or the 20th, we'll come on here and release the poll, and then I'll do the results of it later on that week, whether it be, let's see, the One Piece chapter comes out on the 22nd, 23rd. I could do it that morning. It just depends on whether we have family here or not, because it's Christmas time. I'm not sure, or the 24th actually. I'm not sure. One of those. I'll either try to get the results out, or we'll do it the following week. That way we can do the episode of the year stuff and the chapter of the year stuff around the same time. Because after chapter 1070 drops, that's when I'm going to do my chapter of the year poll, and then the results for that too. So just keep an eye out for the channel, or on the channel, and whether it be on YouTube, I'll definitely put out a link as well on Discord to the poll that I'm undoubtedly going to have both here on YouTube and on Twitter like I did last year. So just keep an eye out for that in regards to the poll if you want to be a participant in the episode of the year and chapter of the year polls and stuff. So that is going to be taking place after the anime goes on break, and for the manga after chapter 1070 releases, because 1071 will technically be the first chapter of next year. We're probably just going to get a little earlier because, of course, that always happens, right? Like the scan release end of the year, we always get a chapter, then there's no chapter for like 2 weeks, right, or a week and a half. So we'll see what happens there. But the episode of the year and the chapter of the year stuff is incoming. Just keep an eye on the channel for that. And on that same line of thought, Jump Festa is this upcoming weekend, and I'm so hyped, son, for Jump Festa this year, because Jump Festa is always Oda flexing and being like, I know all this stuff that you don't know about. And so now's my time to sprinkle in all this information. We've had crazy pieces of information come out of Jump Festa that people still talk about to this day. The Lurking Legend stuff, the Hancock and Mihawk and Vivi, oh my, and all that stuff, right? And even going as far back for the Sanji stuff, you know, the year of Sanji's incoming, and then we didn't get the year of Sanji until the following year, right? Like, because of the way that Oda's brain works, we never really know when something's gonna happen. The most recent one happened, though. He was like, yo, keep an eye on Luffy, and we all kept an eye on Luffy. What did we get? The greatest transformation of all time in Gear 5. So we kept an eye on the king, and we were rewarded for it. So what is going to be Oda's message for the very first year of the final saga? Who knows? I'm terrified but excited at the same time, because if he says something out of pocket, then I'm going to be shook. I'm gonna be shook, man. All right, so I'm looking forward to his Jump Festa messages, and also it's gonna be interesting the fact that they're actually broadcasting this and gonna have English subtitles. They've never done that before, so very much looking forward to seeing what they end up doing with that. And of course, from the other series that I'm really invested in, like I'm looking forward to seeing if they drop like a Jujutsu Kaisen trailer for season 2, or one for like the Hell's Paradise, or something else for Bleach, since Bleach's anime is going to be finishing its part 1 very soon. What are they going to announce there, and stuff like that, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to have for the other series. But of course, when it comes to One Piece, what is going to be the Jump Festa message from Oda this year, and what else could we potentially see there, right? So that's going to be there for Jump Festa. And One Piece Odyssey previews, ladies and gentlemen, have been going crazy. People seem to be really enjoying this game. Even individuals that aren't really into turn-based RPGs. So it looks like a video game, because from what I've seen, right, I'm very involved. I'm not going to say like extremely involved, but I've been with the video game industry for a very long time. I've been with the video game industry before I got into the anime and manga stuff, right? Because of my connection to Call of Duty, Final Fantasy, and stuff like that, right? I'm always in the know, right? As a matter of fact, I follow more video game stuff than I do anime and manga stuff, right? So I know these individuals, and I know for a fact that they aren't like heavily invested into like anime stuff, or if they aren't into like One Piece or these types of video game adaptations, right? And so to see certain individuals heaping praise on Odyssey is really, really cool, because what it tells me is the game does a great job of introducing these characters, getting you acclimated into this world, so by the time that you start off the game, you'll have the necessary information of the Straw Hat Pirates to, even if you don't know much about the series itself, you will be all right. And I think that's very interesting, because of course I've met individuals in both in real life and online that have gotten into certain animes by playing the games, right? I mean, I'm sure you have a very similar thing when it comes to Dragon Ball, right? Even though my first experience with Dragon Ball was on TV, the games were a major part of my childhood. Same thing with Naruto, right? So these are video games that could be someone's first exposure to the series. And something like a JRPG, which there are individuals out there, myself included, that sometimes you'll see a random JRPG, just because it's a JRPG, you're going to pick it up. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? So if someone not knowing what One Piece is picks up this JRPG just because it's JRPG, for them to already understand the information that all like 1,000 chapters, I mean, technically this was made around Whole Cake, so like 800 words, 800 chapters worth of information in regards to, at the very least, understanding who these characters are and why we should care for the story that's about to take place. The fact that the gameplay mechanics and what's normally within JRPGs is strong enough to where those in balance can cause for a pleasurable experience for people who are not even into One Piece is so exciting for me. Because normally the anime games are just for the fans. It's like, no random dude is going to play Pirate Warriors and be like, yo, this is hype, right? Like, for me, it's extremely hype because I'm seeing Snake Man and Bound Man and using all these characters, you know, Shanks and Mihawk and Hancock, you know, it's always a fun time. But, and it's for the fans, right? Like, you don't really get a big casual audience that'll play those types of games, except for, like, individuals who are into that type of stuff, like the Dynasty Warriors games, or who just want to see, like, what One Piece is about. They'll turn it on for a little bit. At least that's my understanding of it. And so to see people genuinely excited for One Piece Odyssey, even though I'm not sure if they're One Piece fans or not, but just based on how the way they spoke about it, I didn't feel like they were. And they still got a really nice experience out of it. That has me very optimistic for the future of One Piece Odyssey. And so, obviously, we've been excited for this from the very beginning. I'm a massive fan from turn-based JRPGs. Turn-based JRPGs are my jam. All right? Like, there's a bunch of series with or games within my favorite series list, video game-wise, that are turn-based JRPGs. So, obviously, I'm super, super excited for this. And I'm hoping for the best. I'm optimistic. After seeing the previews yesterday, seeing all the websites and the videos, like individuals posting their thoughts on One Piece Odyssey, I am looking right now to be on the optimistic side of things, right? Like, we never know when it comes to anime games because, you know, you could either be at the very worst end of the spectrum or at the very best, but it'll at the very least be a good time just because you're a fan. This looks to be an actual good video game that all of us could, like, enjoy in terms of a single-player experience. And that's exciting. that's really exciting. Obviously, I am after Odyssey. I'm looking forward to like a Burning Blood 2 or a Pirate Warriors 5 or something like that, just because we're gonna have so many new characters to play around with, thanks to Wano, right? You can imagine playing as Roger or Gear 5th Luffy or Yamato or young Whitebeard, right? And Odin, even though you can use Odin in Pirate Warriors 4, but you know, using all these different Shanks with Discord hockey, right? That's going to be fun to use in a video game. And Zoro and Sanji and all these characters that have these new techniques, Robin with Demonian Floor, that's going to be super cool. So the video game side of things, it regardless of what happens after Odyssey, it's going to be exciting because all of us want to use. I know for Treasure Cruise, man, when that Gear 5th unit drops, oh, I'm in like somewhere. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like me, right? So video game wise, it looks like One Piece is going to be in a very, very good place with Odyssey and after. So I look forward to seeing what comes after. But for right now, in regards to just Odyssey, it looks to be really good. I'm going to be picking it up regardless. Like I said, as a massive fan of turn-based JRPGs and of One Piece, it's like the best of both worlds. But it looks to be an actual just good game, mechanically speaking. And, you know, meshing all the elements that makes a good JRPG, it looks like it's just going to be a good video game. And that's really cool for me. Because then now, someone who's into just video games but doesn't necessarily watch anime or manga or read manga like that, they can still experience the One Piece greatness or get into it thanks to this game. And they'll be like, okay, now I want to experience more. And they'll get into anime. And they'll watch the One Piece anime thanks to this game. And I think that's super cool because that's something that Trails of Cold Steel anime is doing. A lot of people who do not watch anime but play the games are like, yeah, I'm going to watch this anime. And I'm sure after watching that anime, they're like, oh, you know what? This anime stuff's pretty cool. Maybe we'll see what else is popular and what else I can enjoy. And that's how we get more fans in the product. And so hopefully One Piece Odyssey will produce another boom for us. And we'll get even more fans onto here. And then the live action comes out after that, depending on if that's good or not, which I'm definitely optimistic on that. So we could have a massive, massive boom coming in for the One Piece series to have even more fans come on to us, which is always going to be a good time. And so this is it for the information and news and all that stuff. Let's get into the chapter. Starting us off with the comments today is Subra. Let's go, Subra. Subra states, 2 things I want to talk about. Hold on, let me make sure my laptop's connected because it's been dying on me for some reason. 2 things I want to talk about that I think we haven't talked about much. Early thanks good if you read it. Oh, you already know we're going to read this, Superman. Thank you for the comment. Let's see. Sanji was a test subject for Devil Fruit creation. That is fascinating. So Devil Fruit is the manifestation of desire. Sanji's fire is the manifestation of his burning heart, as he said. That's a factual statement. So that explains how it's true. So the brothers are quite like Devil Fruits in a way. A little parallel. Devil Fruit users can't swim because Mother Nature rejected them. The whole concept of Mother Nature rejected them. Sanji grew as his mother, Sora, wanted to so that he could swim even though he's a half Devil Fruit user. In regards to the half Devil Fruit user, see, that's where I think we're going to have to get the full story of the Void Century to properly understand it. Because if the original fruits are truly man-made, I'm talking individuals like Vegapunk created the fruits in the same way in which Vegapunk is using the lineage factor to recreate these fruits what's more, then if they are truly man-made, that is going to add a layer of like, okay, if you're right, and Sanji's, fire being the manifestation of his burning heart, is truly very similar to the way in which Devil Fruits were created. Then it's like, I want to know why Mother Nature allows one thing to exist but not the other. You know what I mean? Like if that truly is the case. And then, obviously, let me finish reading your comment, and I'll get to my thoughts, because I have a lot of thoughts, especially when it comes to Mother Nature in regards to Mother Sea. One of my favorite soundtracks in the entire series, to know that there could potentially be a Mother Sea-like figure who's... I've always believed... Let me read your comment, right? Second thing is Blackbeard. People's dreams never die. One of my favorite connections to this chapter, by the way, Subra, is the way in which now we have another connection to... that panel. That panel only gets better with time. Every single chapter that drops that's like this just continues to let us know that might be the most important panel in the entire series by the end of it, man. The people's dreams never die. And come on. Anything that hypes up that legendary panel, I'm here for it. I think that makes a lot more sense now. Devil fruits exist as long as people's dreams or desire of things. Skype is the story that explains devil fruits all along, that are depicted as long as people believe everything is possible. Anything... Yo, hold on. Where's the panel? Anything man can imagine is a possibility in reality. Here it is. Absolute peak fiction. Anything man can imagine is a possibility in reality. Peak fiction, ladies and gentlemen. That, and of course, people's dreams never end. An idea, Blackbeard versus Law going on. We didn't see Kuzan there. What if Kuzan and Kizaru meet at Egghead and Kuzan helps the Straws escape? What do you think? Also, another question was Blackbeard's Yummy Yummy no Mi. Is the creation to stop all of the fruits? That was the desire. Have a nice day, Goat. Subra, thank you for the comment. So let me go down one by one. I want to go back to your first comment in regards to the brothers, the connection, and the mother comment. The mother comment is very interesting. So I've always believed, especially after the most recent chapters, that the Void Century is going to be presented like a tale. It's going to be Oda's opportunity. We know how much he loves fairy tales. We know how much he loves exploring, especially when it comes to how much he pays homage to like the earliest of mythologies, regardless of where it's coming from, right? Whether it's Japanese or Greek or whatever it is, right? Like he obviously knows those stories very well, and we've seen them explored within One Piece. So I think Oda with the Void Century, especially with the comment that Kaido made on this looks like a comic strip, I genuinely do believe that whenever we get to the Void Century, it could be presented in a different kind of style, a different kind of way, where it is presented kind of like a fairy tale at first. Then we hop into it, and of course we follow it in like normal One Piece flashback fashion, but I do believe it'll be introduced like a fairy tale. And when it's introduced like a fairy tale, I do believe one of the characters that is going to play one of the biggest roles within maybe that first chapter, the first couple pages, is Mother C. At this point, I think whether it be Mother Nature, Mother Sea, Mother Earth, whatever it is, that individual, that being, is going to present what, like, the setting, the world, all that stuff, right? That's the way I see it. And I think that'd be really cool, because then if Mother C ends up being this antagonistic force to Nika in regards to this thing should not exist, and therefore I'm not going to allow you to, like, swim, or you're gonna get punished for this, right? And then it leads to the whole Zunisha thing. It's like, what did Zunisha get punished for? They have to roam the sea for so long, right? It's like, and we talked about that the night that 1043 came out. I'm like, what really are devil fruits? And did this punishment, was the punishment not being able to swim the direct cause of what took place in the Void Century? And this chapter finally answered that yes, it is a direct cause, a direct consequence of what happened in the Void Century, where we manifested those desires and Mother Nature said, no, that is enough. And to me, that's so fascinating, because now it's like, okay, then if that's the case, what is this Mother C? And so now when we get to the Void Century, I'm very, 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 very excited to see that figure in regards to someone, well, especially if it's like a fairy tale type of thing, because obviously it's gonna speak for a larger thing, right? So whenever Oda does get to the Void Century, that is now one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing the most. It already was, but now, especially after the most recent chapter, no question on that. Especially whenever you start talking about the fact that, okay, even though he's like a quote-unquote a half-devil fruit user, right, being able to manifest his desires like this, but it's like, how does that really work? Especially at the time, because let's just say, going into your second and third comment, that the Yami Yami no Mi and the Nika Nika no Mi, let's just say they were like among the first ones. So we talk about like the Pokemon starters, right? Like stuff like the Blastoises, right? Or the Charizards, or like Charmander and Squirtle and from Bulbasaur, right? So like you have these three. And so was it like that, where it was the Yami Yami no Mi, the Nika Nika no Mi, and then whatever else, right? Could have been the third one, or if it was just those two that started it off. I wonder, because in this chapter, the way that they talked about it is very similar to like the Nika Nika no Mi allowing Luffy's imagination to create whatever it is that he wants, right? And to have full display over the ground, to make other things rubber, to... It seemed like something so insane, the most ridiculous ability, right? As it was explained in 1044. So if that was the original fruit, then it's like then I'm just so curious. I'm genuinely curious on the concept of fruits, how it is those manifestations were or how those manifestations happened. Like, did they desire it and they worked toward it? And while working toward it, they did a similar thing to Vegapunk now, where it is a man-made thing? Or was it something that nature itself created as a counter to something else? Right? Because, of course, this could potentially be a fairy tale. So nature itself could have created the fruits, right? Because we don't know what's really there. So I'm curious, man. I'm so curious. But regardless, getting off the fruits topic, for Kuzan, if Kuzan and Kizaru meet at Egghead, and he also tries to escape, then I hope he brought Kobe with him. I hope he brought Kobe with him, and we get to see that interaction later on. But at this point, I feel like Kuzan is going to continue to stay with Kobe. I don't think he's gonna go to Egghead. I think that'd just be too much. But if it does happen, yo, you called it, and it's gonna be peak. If we see Aokiji pulling up the flipping Egghead, son, I'm gonna lose my mind, dog. So, the Yami Yami no Mi, though, if that was created to negate everything else, as we've seen it do, to stop all of the fruits, then is the Yami Yami no Mi, is that the reason why Blackbeard can have multiple fruits? I'm curious. I'm so curious, man. Like now we start going into some very interesting lines of thought, right? Because imagine having that desire. Like, I just want the entire world to turn to darkness. I want to negate all fruit abilities. The Yami Yami no Mi appears, and or it sprouts up, or they create it themselves. Could be a man-made thing. I don't know, man. But I like I said, this chapter only served to, once again, showcase how important all this is thematically. Inherited will, the dreams of the individuals, right? The desires of the people. Roger in that one dragon panel from chapter 100 is just, it continues to be extremely important to this day, man. Thank you, Subra. A lot of stuff to think about there. A lot of very interesting stuff to think about. So next comment comes in from Recon. It says, I think the will of D equals the will of desire. Since hockey equals will, devil fruits equals desires. The people of D were dreamers and potentially responsible for unintentionally making the core power system in One Piece. I agree with that 100%. Devil fruits were probably envisioned just to fulfill the dreams of the people. However, they were deemed unnatural by the rest of the world. That is factual. During the conflict of the Void Century, I think these people used their dreams to fight against their oppressors. I agree. Ultimately, the ancient kingdom lost, probably to Imu, since Imu backwards equals C. Yep. With the Umi, but since devil fruits respawn after users' death, their dreams never die. That is a very interesting way of looking at it. I think that the new fruit users are those who, oh man, yeah, that brings an entirely new line of thought to that. Going back to Subra's comment on Blackbeard's speech, it's like it literally means that dreams never die and they just keep respawning throughout the ages. I think new fruit users are those who have similar wills or ambitions, so their will lives on 100%. Still not sure how devil fruits are made or why they respond them. We'll find it out soon. And that is the most interesting thing now. It's like, how were they made? How, man? But in regards to it being the will of desire, that very well could be the case. If it is desire, there's so many possibilities, right? With dreams and desires and so many of these things which are integral and very core to One Piece, right? But I want to touch upon something you said here that's very interesting to me in regards to, however, they were deemed unnatural by the rest of the world. Imagine this. Imagine what we saw in Wano times 50, right? Which is what I was saying whenever I saw Nika for the first time. Imagine you are in Wano 800 years ago, or in a place like Wano that has no knowledge of fruits. No knowledge. And you see someone literally bending reality. They are taking lightning and bending it to their will. They are turning other individuals into rubber. They are making themselves giant and small whenever they please. Imagine someone being able to do that. They would think this person was from another planet, an alien, some sort of godly figure. And so imagine that, but with fire, with ice, turning into a jacket, right? Like all the different crazy things that fruits can do. It's like, man, this would seem very unnatural. You would have to have a sector of the verse that would be rejecting that at all costs. being like, yo, that's magic. We don't believe in that, or that's some sort of unnatural thing that we cannot have. We need to stay true to our times, right? And that's very, very in the same line of thought as the Nolan Kagara flashback. And individuals who want to stay true to their traditions, and then someone who's bringing in new ideologies. In Nolan, right? It's the core of the Nolan Kagara flashback. And so if we were to have something like that once again taking place within the voice entry itself, I think it'd be perfect. Where you have a sector of the verse that is rejecting these ideas. And while rejecting these ideas, they potentially created the Yami Yami no Mi themselves out of their desire to negate all of that stuff, all of the fruits. The Yami Yami no Mi came to be. I believe that is a genuine possibility. And so, if that's the case, man, Void Sentry looking to be maybe the best flashback of all time, all right? A lot of stuff is cooking in the Void Sentry kitchen, but thank you, Recon, for that, man. Great comments so far. Great comments. Next comment comes in from Bato Balu. Shout out to the legend. Comes in and says, I find this very interesting for the endgame stuff that the Seraphims are ultimately under the Gorosei's direct order. Agreed. It does balance the forces between the good guys and the bad guys, because if not that, the world government is pretty much screwed for the final war. Luffy and friends, revolutionaries, sword, and the good Marines. You know what's interesting about that? I was thinking the same thing. I was like, yo, we're looking to be very, very OP, right? Like, end of series, how in the world are they going to be dealing with Luffy, with Blackbeard, with all of our allies, with Kaido and Big Mom, which we assume are going to be still on this roaming around the seas unless they die beforehand. I'm not one of the individuals that believes that they're dead, so I think they're gonna pop up again, right? Shanks and of course there's gonna be deaths around the way, but it's like how are they gonna deal with that? Right? I'm like, it's like, yo, the admirals by themselves with the Seraphim units and or at this time we thought it was like the SSG, and I was like, how are they going to deal with all of that? But now with the Seraphim units, and considering what Vegapunk was saying is that they still have time to grow, right? These individuals still have the opportunity to become greater and stronger than what they actually are right now. I can most certainly see how they'd be able to keep up with all of those. They're just gonna have these mechanical soldiers that listen to the Gorosei's direct orders. That's just ridiculous. Because now when an admiral says no, now when a Rob Lucci says no or defies orders, now when someone else does whatever the case may be, Kobe, Garp, when someone doesn't listen, send out the S-Hawk. Send out this. Send out that. Because they are under the direct orders. I think that's really interesting. And it has a lot of opportunities for creating something compelling down the line. And I'm down for it. Super, super down for it. So I agree with you 100% about Balu. Thank you for the comment, yo. Next comment comes in from my boy Michael Mickles. It says, all I know is that the last time Gear 5th Luffy wasn't smiling, Kaido got banished to the Shadow Realm. That's facts. Yo, he got sent all the way. He literally got sent so far into the Shadow Realm, he's still talking to Merrick to this day. Kaido was still talking to Merrick to this day. So Lucci just messed up. Also, I love how Luffy's Yonko status is not fully recognized for the WG. That's one of my favorite parts about this chapter. The fact that Akainu was like, yo, we cannot engage with that man. And the Gorosei were stressing, we cannot engage with a Yonko. Do not engage with the Yonko yet. Like, that is so cool, man. He's really come a long way from that barrel. Facts, Michael Mickles. It's just another layer of this incredible chapter, man. It's like, I was waiting to see how they would handle that. Coming off of Wano, I was like, we're probably going to get an arc where, Luffy's going to come up in there and they're going to recognize, like, yo, that's the Emperor Monkey D. We didn't get that. But now we got that through the WG's eyes. I think that's so cool. It's like, no, don't approach Monkey D. You know what I mean? Don't do anything drastic. That's an Emperor. And I think that's so cool. That is so, so cool. But thank you for that, Michael, bro. Next comment comes from Bar M. Shout out to Bar M. It says, yo, what's up, coach? I'm going to reread. I noticed at the panel of Luffy in Gear 5, where he's dodging Lucci's attacks. In the panel, it shows different faces, and one of them is Luffy sleeping while dodging. Gear 5 really is trolling Lucci. Hey, he really was slumped, dude. And my man was... He was out cold dodging Lucci's attacks. And that's just what makes Gear 5 so special, right? Is the like Michael Mickles said, the range for having like Gear 5 not smiling, you're screwed, to Luffy at his absolute peak comedy, right? And just having the time of his life. And it was so much fun. It really, really is a blast seeing Gear 5. So it's insane that he's literally sleeping while dodging bar him. It's insane, but that's our GOAT. That's our GOAT, you know? But thank you for that, man. I appreciate you. Such a cool section of that last chapter. Next comment comes in from Glow, who says, Devil Fruits being manifested through human desire is actually a very prominent theme in the Skypiea saga. The first chapter of the saga beginning with Jai with a giant ship flying from the sky with the quote, anything man can imagine is possibility in reality. Do what you will with the information, but I think it fits so perfectly, 100%. And like I said earlier, if the Void Century truly is going to follow within the same line as the Nolan Kagara flashback, then once again, Skypiea, more than likely, going to end up being the most important arc in the entire series, besides the final war. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. We believe from the beginning, all right? Skypiea was always goated, but thank you. I appreciate you. Next one comes in from Akmal H. Probably nothing major is going to happen with him, but I want to see if Oda plays this so Kizaru knows that Lucci attacked first without permission and then attacks him tomorrow. Would be cool to see a less relaxed Kizaru, where Kizaru doesn't just attack the Straw Hats. I think that's something, Akmal, that is very interesting about EGGHEAD as a whole, because this is going to be an island that allows us to explore how different individuals under the WG's umbrella react to certain scenes, to react to certain moments, to see their internal conflict at full display. We're seeing that with Vegapunk. Already saw that with Kobe before this all started. Already seen with Helmeppo over there with the G14 stuff. Already seen it with Rob Lucci. How is Kizaru going to react to what's taking place here on Egghead Island? Because that could potentially lead us into another side of what's already been internal conflict galore with the individuals under the WG's umbrella here on Egghead Island. If Kizaru himself contemplates whether what they're doing is right or wrong, I think that'll be a very interesting narrative to explore for the rest of Egghead Island, especially if he arrives when stuff is really, really popping off, right? And like you said, if he knows that Lucci attacked first without permission, how is he going to react to that? Will he turn on Lucci, then go to the Straw Hats? Will he focus on just the mission at hand and be like, well, I'll take care of this later? You know, look down at Sentomaru, have a little ... ellipsis, and just be like, okay, I gotta get back to the mission at hand, and doesn't do anything about it. I look forward to seeing what he does. I really, really do, because at the end of the day, Kizaru is an admiral. We know what he's capable of. We know what he can do whenever he arrives. But the question is, what is he going to do when he arrives and sees what just took place? That is the real genius of this cliffhanger, right? Knowing that Kizaru is on the way and is going to potentially see that. So couldn't agree more. Exciting stuff there with Kizaru potentially incoming. On the same line of thought, Lautaro Ferrer says, just to note that Kizaru is my favorite character, and I hope that Oda treats him with respect. Hopefully it'll be a bit more interesting with his backstory, the theory of him being a sociopath, or that he's actually stupidly powerful and works for Emu or whatever. I just hope he won't be remembered as, oh yeah, the Yellow Admirals that was the first one to get clapped. Much love from Argentina, bro. Love your content. Yo, much love to Argentina. They're about to play here in a little bit. So nothing but love to y'all. Hopefully we see some messy greatness today. But I appreciate you for the kind words, man. And I agree that I hope that Kizaru, by the end of the series, we will look back on him as not just the Yellow Admiral that was the first one to get clapped. That we look back on Kizaru as being one of the GOATs, right? As he is looked upon to this day, right? It's definitely one of the preferred admirals, and one that we all enjoy whenever he's on screen. So hopefully he continues that legacy down the line, man. But thank you, Lautaro, bro. And once again, we'll see what happens with your Argentina. I'm sure by the time this video goes up, the Argentina game will be over. So, but I appreciate you, man. Next comment comes in from Samuel Barrow, who says, this chapter was a 10 out of 10. Agreed. I'm interested to see if Lucci will potentially switch sides or not. I say this since we know he questioned what happens to the Lucia Kingdom. I would say less about switching sides and more just on how he's going to continue to evolve in regards to him moving from someone who just strictly followed orders to now questioning authority. And I think Lucci, with the right amount of growth, and it's so interesting, right? Because Gear 5 being known as the individual who liberates people, right? If Luffy is able to free Lucci from his shackles unintentionally here, and I'm not saying Lucci switched sides, but that rather than being someone who's just going to blindly follow orders, now with the Lucia Kingdom questioning, now with him going against Sentomaru here and taking him out without permission, and of course we know that he went here without the permission of Akainu and them, right? We understand that Lucci is now taking things into his own, right? Where he's like, okay, I'm done waiting for them, done waiting for this. I'm doing things my way, right? Like this is all my way, and I'm interested in seeing how he comes out of this. If he comes out of this alive, obviously, because Kizaru could kill him, or they could just punish him and be like, we're setting an example by killing off Lucci, that no one else ever does something like this ever again. But in regards to him switching sides, I don't think Lucci would switch sides, but I do believe that in terms of him potentially being on one side of the spectrum or the other in regards to the Marines, that is what I believe is very interesting, because I do think Lucci could end up being a very gray character by the end of the series in regards to he is someone who would be willing to help out someone like a Kuzan or a Garp or one of these Marines who we technically see on the quote-unquote good side, rather than being known as one of the Marines that's on the quote-unquote bad side. Because that is the only side I can see him going. I think Lucci will always stay a Marine, unless they kick him out after this incident. Then in that case, I could see him becoming something else, right? But if he stays Marine, right, after all of this and whether he gets imprisoned, whatever it is, I think he will continue to stay here in this position, because I think that is going to be his role to serve until the end of the series, especially whenever we get to a point in time in the series where many individuals are going to be like Lucci in having this conflicted outlook into the WG and the Marines and stuff of that nature, and to have Lucci be a part of that would be very interesting. But that's just my take on it. There was always a possibility, right? If he gets imprisoned and he breaks out, or if they punish him for real and he says, screw this, I'm leaving, he could very well end up joining another faction. What will that faction be? Who knows? And like I said, there's always a possibility he dies as well. But very interesting stuff. Thank you so much, Yo, for that comment. And this comment comes in from DJ. And he says, hey, Coach, Final Saga is continuing to exceed my expectations. Same, man. Oda's in his bag every week, but we are on a break. Oda needs this break and needs to be with his family and, of course, celebrate Christmas 100%. Here's my thought. Vegapunk says the Gomu Gomu no Mi never mentioned the Elder Fruits Encyclopedia, but what if they knew about the true name, which is the human fruit mythical type Zoan model Nika? So it's not going to be mentioned because of Nika. Interesting if trying to learn about Devil Fruits. Exactly right. Like, it's never going to be mentioned because they don't want people to know about Nika. Also, the possibilities in the next chapter that we're going to get Kuma, Kizaru, or even Dragon on the same island. That will be crazy. Dragon and Luffy finally meeting. Very, very, very high on the scale of potential. Excuse me. Oh, man. Egghead being the island where we meet Vegapunk and Dragon. Endgear 5th Luffy boxing Lucci. Where Egghead might go down to top 5, man. Top 5. I hope Luffy gets a shot against Kizaru. And Kizaru getting scared by a Yonko Monkey D. Luffy to go with the coat. If we get a Kizaru getting scared by Luffy scene, similar to the Shanks crew and Kizaru scene, I'd be so down for that, man. Obviously, there's the Kizaru was trolling, right, with Shanks, but obviously there was an element of truth to that, right? In regards to him being like, whoa, like, man, these are them dudes. I would love for Kizaru to also have one like that with the Straw Hats. To be like, whoa, Monkey D. Like, I think that'd be super cool. I think because for me, I feel like if Kizaru trolls you, he respects you. And so, him showing a sign of respect to Luffy in that way would be pretty cool. Also, another thing, Coach, do you think the meaning of D is desire? I'm not sure. I still do believe the will of D is still going to mean the will of an individual with the name D, right? Like, whether it be Davy or something piratey in that way, I do believe. But the meaning behind the will of D, absolutely. It could be D or dreams or whatever it is that is carried on through the generations. And desire is most certainly one of those things that could be that DJ. So thank you for the comment, yo. 100%. This man Oda's in his bag, man. In his bag. Next comment comes in from Hansel, who says, was I the only one that noticed Robin's heart beating fast when Vegapunk was explaining his Devil Fruit theory? Something I really like about that scene, like you said, is like Robin was sweating, heart beating extremely fast, like, oh my goodness. I'm with the biggest key to the Void Century next to me. My captain is the biggest key to the Void Century. And once I find out more about this Nika individual, this person is the one who poses the biggest threat to the WG, the individual that they don't want anyone to know of his existence. And so it's like, how could Robin, that has to be like an excitement. Can you imagine? It's the same thing for us. We're all anticipating Void Century information. That's all we want to see, right? It's like, yo, Void Century, Void Century, Void Century. Robin literally lives for that. So Robin is receiving information that this individual has been wiped from all the records. And it's like, Robin's gonna be going crazy. Like, if you thought we were going crazy, Robin had to be sweating. Like, yo. So it's either that or something that we have yet to realize. But I love how we got that reaction shot of Robin because of her connection to the Void Century. And it adds more weight to the scene. And I just thought that was such a great scene, man. But thank you, yo. I appreciate you. Next comment comes from Xanarkind. FF10. Not a theory, but a question for Recon. What do you think will happen once Kizaru finds out that Lucci attacks Santomaru? So this goes in line with the other comment from earlier, but I do believe that is going to be very interesting, right? And Kizaru, whether he takes Lucci out, whether it be before or after all this stuff happens, in the moment, whether he brings him back with him, I wonder what he would say, because obviously Lucci taking this into his own hands could be looked upon as a good thing, right, by the WG. But how will Kizaru take it, being personally connected to Sentomaru? How will he see it? How will this be his own internal conflict, like I was talking about earlier, and what he wants to do with Lucci, who has attacked Sentomaru? We don't know his personal connection in regards to how much does he really care for Sentomaru. Like, we don't know if he's going to show up and just go super rage mode just because Sentomaru got taken out. We don't know if Kizaru's that type of individual, right? But based on their connection, right, on Uncle and whatnot, I do believe that there'll be at least a moment of care, of like where Kizaru looks down at Sentomaru and has that like moment of doubt where he's like, man, what are we doing here? You know, like, I honestly do believe that moment is coming. What happens of that, whether he rages against Lucci, waits until the mission is over, has a conversation with him, and or brings him in, or whatever it is, I think that's what's going to happen to Kizaru. And if I had to pick one of them, of what Kizaru's going to do, I think the most likely scenario is going to be that Lucci, or that he's probably going to end up bringing Lucci back, right? Whether it be not necessarily arrested, but just taken back with him as a punishment for insubordination or something like that. Oh, and or he just does it himself. He's just like, screw it. And just obliterates Lucci right then and there. Who knows? And Lucci gets Lucian. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens, but it depends. I think just knowing the way that Kizaru's personality is, he's probably going to wait. So I'm going to wait until all of this is over, and then like take care of business, and then just bring Lucci back with him, I think. I think that would probably be the very likely scenario. And then it'll be very interesting seeing if he brought back Lucci, and then that conversation between Lucci, Kizaru, and Akainu, like what would even come out? What would even come of that? But I'm not sure, because once again, Kizaru's such an interesting character that we don't know enough of. But we do know like his nature in regards to like how seemingly laid back he is, but he takes care of business. He's just very slow about it. So, but regardless, I'm just as excited as you are. Like, I don't have a definitive answer on that one, Xanarkin, but thank you, yo. The next comment comes in from M-Sphere. Shout out to M-Sphere. He says, "How are you doing, coach? I'm doing great. Hope you're great." Oh, we're doing good, yo. We're doing good. Well, this chapter had a major pause from let's focus on fruits. We followed up the Vegapunk's theory on Devil Fruits, Devil Fruit being a creation of desire. It's interesting because the most obvious counter to Devil Fruits is Haki, which is willpower, right? And will, inherited will and desire. So the counter to strong desire is strong willpower. It makes sense in the real world, but this is one of the most unique ways to tackle this topic. I actually really like it because, once again, One Piece is very very fairy tale-esque in the way that it handles its themes. And I think this is perfect to establish a theme in this type of way visually as a key part of the power system. I think that's so cool. P.S. I'm not a fan of Lucci being able to match Yonko Luffy, just like Kinemon and Ko cutting Kaido or Mihawk being stalled by Vista. It's weird because I feel it takes away from the hype of top echelon fighters. I disagree with that. Anyway, I'm gonna take a break because of this. It broke my immersion pretty heavy. Anyway, see you in a bit. Yo, see you in a bit. But don't let something like this break your immersion. I think it's actually pretty simple in regards to Lucci being able to keep up with Luffy. Luffy literally slept. He fell asleep in one panel while fighting Lucci. Lucci's doing nothing to the king right now. Let's be honest here. I would say it's less about him matching with him and more of Luffy just having fun. with Lucci here. Because the entire chapter really felt like this man Luffy was just pwning him. Just like taking him out of the, he's not doing anything, right? Like, Lucci was trying his hardest, but nothing was coming of it. But in regards to it being similar to like the Kinemon cutting Kaido or Mihawk being stalled by Vista, the Mihawk Vista thing I think was just out of respect. But Kinemon and them cutting Kaido for me makes sense because of how it's stated that it is the internal thing. Could you imagine Odin being the only individual to cut somebody like Kaido, right? Using the Ryo Haki, and that is taking you out internally and externally. Like, he left that scar. In regards to Kinemon and them being able to use it, if they weren't able to do something like that after all of these years of being with them, I would have been like, yo, what is going on here? So to me, it made more sense that Kinemon and them were able to damage Kaido rather than the fact that they didn't. What makes Kaido so impressive is the fact that all 9 of them were going up in like swimwear against Kaido, utilizing Ryo Haki, damaging his insides, and he still shook it off like it was nothing and bodied all 9 of them. That, to me, is what made that so goated, which is why when Luffy arrived at the roof, I was like, oh, let's get it. And then he started bodying them. Kaido's... Kaido! So that's honestly why, where that works for me. Where I was like, man, for me, it's like if they didn't have the opportunity to damage Kaido, I would have been disappointed. Like, I had 20 years. Like, come on, man. And I know Kinemon and them just came into the future. By the Flag Nerds, Odin already died. Like, yo, we better learn some Ryo Haki if you don't already have it. So, to me, that made sense. And I evolved the hype when Kaido bodied all of them by himself. I was like, nah, man, these people know your weakness and you still bodied them? And the fact that Kaido continued to go and fight, even while carrying Onigashima, that's my guy. That's my guy. And so, but in Lucci's case, due to his nature, that was like the one thing that was up in the air. How much did Lucci evolve from when he got beat by Luffy to now? And I think what this chapter showcased is his jump in terms of strength is something, especially gaining awakening in this type of way, is not only plausible, to me it makes sense, just knowing how Lucci is as a character. Lucci is the type of individual who is gonna continue on his mission until it's done. After taking it out of Luffy, he seemed like the type of individual to me that would just work on his stuff day in, day out until it's perfected. And so now him with this new form, it's like, yo, he's filthy. So to me, it's more so like Lucci's trying to keep up with Luffy, and Luffy's just having a fun time with him. And just the fact that Lucci is able to do that is so cool to me, because it's putting respect on Lucci's name, first and foremost, for his personality, and that makes 110% sense, but also putting hype on Cypher Pole Age 0. Like, somebody who's able to awaken and go up in like swimwear, being the leader of this agency, put some respect on their name as well. And they need more respect, man. They need more respect. And so I'm glad that Lucci was able to do this, because I think we have to wait and see how this stuff concludes to see how easy it is for Luffy to end the situation in hand, right? And stuff of that nature, because obviously a lot of people thought he was going to come in, and I know I was one of the people who thought he was just going to conquer his coding him and that's it. But to see that Lucci grew this much actually brought a smile to my face, where I was like, no, this makes sense. With his character, it really does make sense. Honestly, if Lucci would have got one shot, then I would have been like, dang, man. Like, not Luffy's like up here and he's down here, which is what I was originally thinking. But now with this chapter, it's like, no, this is actually more like this. Especially the fact that Lucci continued for 2 years. Like, Luffy's not the only one. Like Lucci said in this chapter, you're not the only one who got better over these 2 years, right? So I think in that way it makes sense. But if it broke your immersion, hope to have you back as soon as possible, because Egghead is popping off, man. Goated arc. But I appreciate you, M Sphere. Have a good one, yo. Next one comes in. I think I'm gonna read 1 or 2 more, and then we're gonna call it. So I'm gonna read this one. Aimane Imahi comes in and says, "Yo, Recon, I don't know if you saw it, but someone on Twitter gave the idea that the abandoned ship Frankie ended on Water 7. Ended on the Water for 7 flashback is where he changed himself into a cyborg, was actually a abandoned ship of Mads. Just like the one we saw on the cover story. Whoever that person was on Twitter that gave that idea, taking it back to the Dufeld thing we saw in the cover story of this week. Oh, yo, with Tugboat? It's a good theory. It's a good theory. Pirate on the Mad ship. That's fascinating. Yo, I like that. I like that theory. And then, of course, we have to have that connection in Frankie with Thousand Sunny and the bounty poster, right? Like, that's a good theory, dude. Thank you for that comment. I appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. General Yusuf comes in. Thoughts on the Game Awards, my brother? So happy Elden Ring. Wow, yo, Elden Ring winning the Game Awards, bro. God of War won more awards, so it made it perfectly balanced. I'm also happy we're getting a new Crash game. Yeah, the new Crash game was cool. The Game Awards actually this year was a lot of fun. A lot of fun this year. I got to see Armored Core 6, man. That's like one of my childhood games right there. So I couldn't believe it. I never even played 5. The last one I played was 4. So I was like, yo, a new Armored Core? That's crazy. And then, of course, like you said, Elden Ring, man, that was well-deserved. Well-deserved. That was my gaming experience of the year. So most certainly well-deserved. Thank you, General Yusuf, man. No doubt in there. This comment comes in from Royal Muffin 23. Says, I absolutely love the implications of devil fruits being the manifestations of people's dreams. Seen all kinds of theories flying around. I have 2 favorites. One being a re-examination of Blackbeard's iconic line in Jaya. Absolutely. People's dreams will never end. Could have been hinting at the origination of devil fruits. Blackbeard clearly knows some secrets we don't yet. Even if devil fruits really are the manifestations of someone's dreams long ago, then those people's dreams truly never end. That's factual. They live on as fruits. Second theory being that Wano is what remains of the ancient kingdom and the Fire Festival's tradition that came about from however that kingdom used to create devil fruits. During the Final Festival in Wano, we see the people writing their wishes upon lanterns sent them into the sky. Could it be a holdover from long ago? Absolutely, that is a tradition from 800 years ago. 100%. 100%. So many crazy theories and implications in this review. I would love 1069. It was a great chapter, man. And now that you say that, that's so factual. That is most certainly a tradition that was carried from back then, that we know within Luffy and Kaido's fight, there was so much talk about like fruits, hockey, right? Like in order to succeed here, you need to have the will, right? The hockey, you can't just have the ability. You have to have them both in unison. And so to have like people's wishes, and now I'm learning this thing about fruits, it really recontextualizes that, at least for me. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happened with Wano 900 years ago, because of course, and if this really it was a tradition from back then, oh man, Void Sentry is gonna be all time. The Void Sentry, dude, is gonna be all time, man. Cannot wait for that. Thank you, Royal Muffin, yo. Last comment comes in from Derek of Rivia, who states, I got a good one, King. You study literature and writing. It's finally safe to say that the Gum Gum fruit is officially retconned. Oda is great at foreshadowing, but up until Who's Who, it was safe to say Luffy had the Gum Gum fruit with no objections. Now with this chapter, we know it's apparently a non-existent fruit. Every great author gets 1 or 2 in a long-running series. Can we get your thoughts? I think that's such a fascinating topic of discussion, because I feel like I can't really answer this until the series comes to a close, or until we get to a point to where we completely understand exactly what the connection here is between the Gomu Gomu no Mi and the Nika Nika no Mi, and why it is that it was identified as the Gomu Gomu no Mi at the beginning of the series. Until we have that information, I feel like I can't properly answer this in the way that I want to. But in regards to it officially being retconned, I think it's fine. Like you said, not only does every great author like get a pass and stuff like this, but whenever it's thematically consistent in the way that the Nika Nika no Mi is, where even with almost zero foreshadowing outside of the stuff that we got like in Skypiea, for example, or like the Thousand Sunny being the representation of the Straw Hat Pirates, or the countless amounts of pieces of things toward like the sun god Nika that we've gotten throughout the course of the story. In regards to just the Gomu Gomu no Mi being something else, that is something that whenever it happened, it caught us so off guard, because it was like, yo, we always thought it was going to be this. It was kind of the Saiyan thing from Dragon Ball, where, oh, what? Goku's a Saiyan? What is a Saiyan? You know, and then you learn more about it, and it makes more sense, and it becomes a part of the actual part of the story. And obviously, at the time, people were probably thinking the same thing as with the Gum Gum fruit, like, yo, this is a retcon. You're telling me this man wasn't a this or that up until this point? So, for me, the most interesting thing about this is the fact that Oda remained consistent with this, made it believable, even if he just thought of this leading up to that reveal, right? Because, of course, there was pieces of foreshadowing in regards to just Sun God Nika in general, and we look back on Skypiea very differently in the way that certain things happen in that arc. Now that we have this information, we will never know if Oda really had all that in mind back then. I don't care if he did or not. But for me, the consistency of having the gears this entire time and wondering what in the world is this, right? Like, gear second made a lot of sense. Gear third made a lot of sense. But when we got gear fourth as a transformation, we were like, whoa, this is possible too? So once we got that and we got different forms, then we're like, oh, this is kind of like Chopper's ability. So in that regard, it's like, oh, so in that now it makes sense as to why he was able to transform like a Zoan would. And then, of course, you add around the mythical nature to it, and it's like, okay, that makes so much sense in regards to why he was able to have these different quote-unquote forms throughout the course of the series, just in regards to his powers. Then you have something where Luffy was always gaining inspiration from everything else and exercising it as he saw fit. So taking the pinwheel, for example, back in Arlong Park, and then creating an ability based on the pinwheel, the Gomu Gomu no pistol being based on the pistol that Shanks and the boys had. Like, he's always been inspired by other things in regards to his moveset and his abilities. So to have a final form where he can take all the inspiration and exercise it at the highest ability, because now he's no longer restricted by his body, he can literally make whatever is in his mind become a reality here. I think that is both thematically consistent and consistent with his abilities. And in that regard, I think it is 110% perfect. What I want to know, like you here, is when we get to the end of the series and we have more of an understanding on the Gomu Gomu no Mi and its relation to the Nika Nika stuff, I want to understand and I want to know what Oda's explanation for all of this is going to be down the line about the Gomu Gomu no Mi being recognized as being a fruit that has existed for all of this time, whether it be that the fruit's name was changed because of the fact that they didn't want anyone to know about the existence of Nika Nika no Mi, which is obviously the explanation that we have right now, which makes a lot of sense, right? They don't want anyone to know of the Nika Nika no Mi's existence, so they give it the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but to still have the properties of Gomu Gomu, to me, is what makes it very interesting. So when we get to the Void Sentry and we see exactly what it is and why it has those gum properties and why he was able to absorb lightning with those properties, then we're going to look at this and be like, okay, this was something that could easily be transitioned no matter if Oda thought of this the week before or something like that. But that to me is where I'm like, okay, I'm fascinated by the fact that that switch was able to happen and we were all able to accept it, especially me, right? Where something like that normally would have happened, I'm like, what? But because it's thematically consistent, especially with his abilities, I'm like, no, I love this. I love it way more than I ever would have imagined, right? But in regards to the way in which he goes about it from here on out, that's what I'm really excited to see. Because then I'm going to be able to come back to this and answer it and be like, okay, was it truly this or was it truly that? And if there was pieces of foreshadowing leading up to it, then it is what it is. But even if it wasn't, we know that Oda's a very spontaneous individual who, even the greatest moments in the series, like the Vivi Farewell scene, Shanks showing up in Marineford, there's a lot of stuff he never planned for, but it happened and it stayed consistent with what took place. And in that regard, I feel like Gear 5 could very well be the same thing by the time we look back on it. And the idea of the Nika Nika no Mi and not being the Gomu Gomu and stuff of that nature. So those are my thoughts on it. As long as it stays consistent thematically and with what we've seen up until this point, it's all good in the hood. And I think so far that has been the case. Now we got to see, of course, the origins and why it is they referred us to one or the other. But when we get to that, then I'll be able to come back to this and be like, okay, this is the answer I have now. But for right now, that's all I got for you, Derek Rivia. But thank you for the comment. Definitely a great question. So I'll see y'all next time. Have an awesome day. Let me know any other thoughts you have on this chapter in the comments down below. And I will see y'all for the next chapter of the best-selling manga in history. But until then, take care and have a blessed one, y'all.